I've been giving this question a lot of thought. A lot of thinking has gone into it, and basically the question I want to ask for everybody here, and it's a really good question, is see, we're facing a crisis as a country. It seems like there's a gender divide that's a political divide now. So young men are going in the direction of Republican and young women are going in the direction of Democrat. So for the first time in history, maybe, men and women are being polarized on political lines. And that's, before there was always political divisions in society. So you had a household, the whole household would be one way, opposing one would be another way. So men and women were not polarized politically, right? Now they are. So the question is, how does that get solved? It seems like there's a breakdown of the ability for the two to communicate. And that's leading to, in my view, that's leading to a system that's taking advantage of a cultural divide, which is ultimately always going to be producing the same outcome anyway. But, it's just producing so many people enthusiastic about, Democrats or Republicans, people who don't necessarily represent their best interests, but they're just doing it for cultural reasons. So what do you think the root causes of that and how that can be
let's make it simpler.
Addressed? Yeah,
so,
go ahead.
Hold on. Let me. I can summarize because I was writing. Okay, so the first question is, how do we solve ideological differences in men and women? And then where does it come from? Would that be fair to say that's what
Sure,
you're asking?
yeah. There you
so,
go.
ladies, the question is, how do we solve political ideology differences between men and women, and where does it come from?
Well, I can start. I think I'm not Tina. Oh, sorry.
It's Gia, Mo. Go ahead. Don't
Yeah,
worry.
we're talking.
Sorry, Tina will start at the screen. So Tina, don't start at the screen, please.
It's Gia, Chris.
No.
Tina.
I'll fuck that
Tina
up.
was.
I'll fuck
My
that
bad.
up.
All right, go ahead.
Gia's cool.
Okay.
Thanks, Fresh. I appreciate that.
Gang.
What was the question again?
Okay.
Don't
so
worry. It's long.
he was basically saying that there is a gender divide, especially with younger people, along political lines. Men tend to be more Republican, women tend to be more Democratic. Right? So men tend to lean right, while women tend to lean left.
Trump Kamala.
Then he says, how do we solve ideological differences between men and women in the United States, and where do you think it comes from?
I think the second part is kind of hard to answer off rip, but I would definitely say for the first part, I think the differences in ideology come from like the party line differences. The GOP is really rooted in conservatism, traditionalism, and I think that patriarchy and traditionalism have a lot of overlap because patriarchy is a traditional system that we've had. So I think that men and women both have an interest in upholding patriarchy, which, is a whole discussion. But I think men are more conscious of their own interest in upholding patriarchy because it benefits them. And so I think the patriarchy is better upheld by the Republican Party. Not that it's not upheld by the Democratic Party. It definitely is. But I think that the Republican Party actually holds publicly the interests of patriarchy. So I think that that's why a lot of men gravitate towards the Republican Party, because it upholds things that have always benefited them and would continue to benefit them.
Okay.
So you think the patriarchy benefits men?
I think that the patriarchy benefits everybody that participates in it to a degree, and it also hurts people who participate in it to varying degrees.
So do I keep
No,
going?
yeah.
Okay,
I was
for
gonna go around the table unless you wanted to.
It's up to you, however you guys.
Do you want to address something?
Yeah, I just want so what do you mean by patriarchy? What is that?
So, like, the ideology that men are superior, and I mean, that's a really reductionist take on patriarchy, right? Because patriarchy involves, like, a whole system that is rooted around maintaining the supremacy of men and maintaining...
Which men, though?
What do you mean, which men?
All men.
Well, because it seems to me that whether we're talking Republican or Democrat, but especially Republican because they're more overt about this, it seems like their policies are meant to actually benefit the small minority of old men that have already gotten to the top.
Exactly.
So what about young men who are leaning Republican, who, in my view, they're getting a false promise. They're saying, yeah, you're going to get, a good job, you're going to be able to make money, it seems like a lie to me. So how is it patriarchy if the majority of men don't have any stake in it?
No, that's actually exactly what I mean when I say that whether or not it benefits everybody, everybody participates in patriarchy because it's been the default. We're kind of like capitalism. Like we all have to participate in capitalism because it's what we've been given and we all want to be successful. And quite frankly, I think that that's why a lot of us ladies are here right now. We're probably a little nervous about how this is going to go, but we want the opportunity. We want to have the discussion. We want to be here. But, you know, to say that there's not a barrier to men and women having that discussion, I mean, I think that's why we're here, because there is that barrier. But to your point, patriarchy does not benefit men as much that are not in that range, right? White, straight, successful,
But I'm just
old.
saying, like, how have the Republicans, and this applies to Democrats too, because I'm
Sure.
not pro-Democrat, but it's like, how is it, if you're saying patriarchy is that, you know, it's benefiting men or whatever, like
Yeah.
in what way specifically?
Well, specifically, so as of most recently, like the repealing of Roe v. Wade, you know, the idea that women can't make their own decisions about their bodily autonomy without men in charge making those decisions for them or taking their choice away to make those decisions for themselves.
I don't know how it's necessarily a male thing to, you know.
Well, it's a majority male Supreme Court. It's a majority male Congress. Everybody that's in charge of making these decisions, the majority of them in those groups are men. So
Yeah, sure, but I'm just saying, like, the Roe v. Wade, all that really did was say, okay, we're just going to hand it to the states as far as what the decision's going to be. So how does that specifically benefit young men or men in general?
because, you know, patriarchy is a system that is macro and it's also micro. So you
But
have
like, how does that give?
Well, I'm getting
How
there.
does that
I'm
give
getting there.
your average man more control over women's choices or something? I don't understand that.
Well, because they have more political power than women. You know, when you have men at the top whose interests largely share men at the bottom, then those men vote for the more powerful
That
men.
doesn't seem to make any sense. So you're
Well, you
saying
didn't let me
because
finish.
the majority of people in power are men,
Yeah.
that means men in general have more power.
Yeah, and well, no, it means
That
that
doesn't
because
make
well, you
sense.
didn't let me finish.
Babes, I think break it down patriarchy from the start, babes.
Real quick,
It's
who
more
agrees with her, by the way? Just so I guess we might as well. Who agrees with her on this, by the way? That that men tend to lean more right, and it's because of a patriarchy, and the patriarchy inherently benefits men more than it benefits women. Who agrees with that? Just raise your hands.
And to clarify,
Just so I
I
can see who else agrees with this.
don't think that men largely lean right. I just
Okay.
think that the
I
men
don't
that
think
do
that
lean right.
exactly.
That's why.
There you go.
Yeah.
I don't think that men as a whole in terms of American society typically lean left or right, but in terms of patriarchy, yes,
You
it's
think it
gonna
does
favor
benefit?
men.
Okay, so you guys agree with that, right?
Yeah,
Because I want to clarify, like patriarchy is not just something that is this great
Who else
thing
agrees
for
with
men
that?
that sucks
Anybody
for
else?
women.
Anybody else agree with that? Just two?
Do the girls know what it means?
I'm still
We
just
should bring
trying
up
to
the
figure
definition
it out.
on screen.
I don't know.
What was that, Chris?
The girls probably lost patriarchy. What is that?
Oh, patriarchy, cool.
Yeah.
I mean, I think one of the basic things that you can learn from patriarchy is that the fact that all women take on their father's names. They take on their father's last
this
name
day.
Mm-hmm.
Still
until
to
this day. And it's still
Like, that's
continued
still-
because
Right.
it's always been a patriot, like,
Don't worry, girls. I got you.
I
in
think
that
that's why
aspect.
they prefer.
Alright,
It's
teachers,
never
so
been a
I don't want
matriarchy.
faces.
It's always been a patriarchy, meaning that the man in the household is centered
they can keep
around
being the
role as
dominant,
bread
you know?
maker.
Alright, for sure.
Exactly.
Yeah, like it's centered around
It's
men.
centered
the conversation
around-
is centered around
Correct.
that. Yeah.
We need to make this a little bit more simpler. I think.
No, it's fine, man. I mean,
Yeah,
this
that's fine.
is
Okay.
okay. A system of society or government in which the father or eldest male is head of the family and descent is traced through the male line. That's basically a general definition.
Yeah.
So you
Called
guys
it.
agree.
Called it.
Yeah.
You might not agree that men lean right more, but you guys agree that the patriarchy inherently benefits men more. Okay, fair enough.
Yeah.
And you agree with that's what you said. And anyone else agree with that besides her?
Yeah.
Raise your
Yeah,
hands.
it kind of makes
Who else,
sense.
who else agrees? Okay. All right, cool. Go ahead, Oz, if you want it, because she was She was finishing her statement.
Mhm.
Would you have? You want to finish what you were saying?
I'm a little lost, so if you want to go ahead,
All right,
go
we'll
ahead.
go to the next girl.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just saying, like, you know, the thing about the last names, that's for certainty of the parent, you know, because when it was matrilineal, you didn't know who the father was a lot of the time, societies that were matrilineal. So when they started shifting to patrilineal, where they're recording, you know, the child based on their father, the father right is what they call it, that's because that establishes exactly who that belongs to, who the child belongs to. I mean, everyone knows who the mother is, basically, because of the labors of, you know, giving birth and being pregnant and stuff. And that establishes the certainty of the parentage. But I don't want to ramble on that. I just kind of want to narrow it down because it's like, Go ahead.
I'll go to the next person. What?
Can I just make this a little bit more fun so they can really understand? Because I can
Yeah.
see some confusion here. How about this? Tell me how this is good or not. Let's say, why do men move towards Trump versus women towards Kamala? Why do you think that? Is that better? Yeah? Okay.
You know, I mean, it
First,
feels.
that's sexist.
Wait,
It feels.
It's fucking sexist.
Make it simple, bro.
Yeah, it feels too simplistic.
You're trying to say that they can't handle a more
Oh,
complex
you know
question.
what?
Yeah.
Girls, you're strong. You can handle this. You got this. Go ahead.
How dare you?
Telemundo.
You can start.
No. You.
Me?
Yeah, you.
Okay. First of all, I don't like to talk about politics.
Yeah, I don't
politics
either.
for real.
Hate
It's
it.
because it's a big topic,
I
you
don't
know.
think she could vote.
You know. No, I can vote. Yeah, I can vote. Actually, I'm supposed to vote by Kamala.
Kamala.
Yeah, because I think in this time, I think women need to have the opportunity to show the really power that we have inside of us.
Woman
you know?
power.
Yes, for real. Yes. Actually, I think
Machismo, no bueno.
no bueno. Yeah, and like she was telling, about the patriarchy. Everything
Patriarchy.
Everything is based like about the father, the man.
The
What-
man.
Yeah.
Too much men.
Especially
Yeah,
in
it's like-
Latino culture.
Exactly.
Let
Yeah,
me tell
too
you
much
something.
machismo in this time. So I
You think there's too much masculinity today?
yes.
So
Not today, maybe before.
so hold
I
on.
want to
time.
refrain from that.
So here's I think it's kind of a false conflict because it's like obviously women don't want to be more masculine and they don't necessarily, it's not their thing because they're women, but it's like do you think it's better if men today were to be more feminine?
Not feminine exactly, but like I say,
More sensitive?
yeah,
sensitive?
more sensitive.
More
Yes.
sensitive.
I just
Yeah,
think
that's
there's
the
too
word,
much
that's the word,
focus
that's
on
the
like
word.
the idea of men being masculine or men being feminine to begin with, because I think a lot of the ways that we uphold the patriarchy is by making men feel like they have to be a certain way.
Right.
And that's what I mean when I say patriarchy hurts everybody. When a
100%.
man feels like he can't cry or he's a bitch, I don't know if I'm allowed to say it.
I mean,
but-
look, I understand how that could apply to traditional cultures, like Middle Eastern culture or something like that. But it's like in America, when I look at the things that are meant to influence young men that are like establishment kind of stuff, I mean, internet is a whole other story. The things that are being promoted by society, it really seems like almost all of it is in the opposite direction, really telling
Yeah.
men that, okay, you need to, don't be a man anymore, wear dresses, yada, yada, yada. So where is the pressure to be a man coming from in America today? I don't see it.
This room? Shit.
all of the-
Yeah,
no,
but
no offense, I'm making a joke there, but yeah, I mean the idea that men need
being
to be a
serious.
certain way anyway. It's a little serious, sure, in the sense that like you guys.
But don't you think that's just kind of like a thing? For example, the viewpoints that come from here, that's kind of a response to something that's been happening for a very long time, which was going unchallenged for like decades, in the U.S. And
What are you referring to directly? I'm
Yeah.
sorry.
I'm talking about how it seems like there's this agenda to basically tell men that they should stop being masculine, they should stop being men, they should be more feminine, they
And
should.
when do you think
Nobody
that
said
started?
that.
But there was an agenda, the
Well,
opposite
why
agenda to tell men.
is it that every male celebrity comes out and wears a dress?
I mean,
Damn.
only
Every
the
single
ones that
one.
really
Because
want
the
to.
status
Only the
quo
ones
Would you
that
say that every
really
male
want to.
Why-
celebrity does that?
I feel like the down
I think
low-
every up and coming male celebrity for some reason can be photographed with a dress.
They got set
It
up.
challenges the status quo.
How does that?
I think the status quo has been this idea.
I don't think it
of,
challenges
Would you
the
wear a
status
dress?
I
quo.
think that it does because I think
No,
since the
this-
80s we've had this machismo idea
But that's
of
not
what
the status
masculinity
quo.
is.
That's something.
That has been the
That's
status
something that
quo.
actually comes from the people themselves. That comes from traditions. That comes from people's real lives. The status
Sure,
quo
but
is the
traditionalism
artificial.
can be the status quo.
Right, but the status quo is the artificial stuff that they make up there to impose on society.
But there's
where?
no
The
inherent
basic-
masculinity. It's
do you
all
mean?
artificial.
You think masculinity is
it
all
literally
artificial?
is.
So,
Femininity and masculinity
so
is a
that has
construct.
so it has no basis whatsoever in the historical responsibilities men have to assume, the wars they have to fight. They have to stand on business to protect their family and their loved ones.
Like
They have
biologically,
to have
do
a
they have
sense
to
of
stand on business?
They have to have
No.
a sense of honor in their dealings with
No.
other men to prevent violence. You don't think
No.
these things are
Not
real?
inherently. Not inherently.
So
no.
those are artificial.
Yes, those are artificially inflated constructs.
So who created them?
You know, I don't think it was one person. Like, you know, I don't want to be like, we live in a society.
The
but
machine.
The machine.
It's the machine
type
has-
shit. Type
But
shit.
don't you think that things like that reflect real experiences and real wisdoms?
I do. Yeah, I do.
So how is it artificial then? Or is it just semantics? You're
Well,
not saying
okay.
that they're fake. You're just saying that. What?
Artificial in the sense that, like I said, it's not inherent, it's not connected to biology, and if we wanted to, we could change it. And to your point, that's what our generation is doing.
And there's
Guys
no
put on a
specific
dress to
science.
question this idea of masculinity that we have and say it's not that you have to do this to be a man. You can put a dress on and still be a man.
Right, but why is there this assumption that being a man is based in like you want to emulate some kind of appearance rather than necessity? Like, for example, honor is born out of necessity. You can want to look like however you want, but in terms of being able to deal and do business and have honorable relationships with others, that's out of necessity to prevent violence. That's out of necessity to coexist with other people. The need for men to protect is not something that's just because they want to look a certain way because from an 80s action movie. It's actually based in experiences and wisdom that's been passed on for generations and generations. So how could that be dismantled and voluntarily gotten rid of just because someone wants to?
That should not be dismantled. Those are characteristics of human beings. And I bet if you asked Fatima if somebody came for her son, if she would lay down and protect, absolutely, she does not need her
Look,
husband. to do that for her.
without you know, look, I want to be inclusive and not make assumptions. I'm very progressive. But I have a suspicion that if she came across a man in a fight, I don't I don't.
No, go ahead.
It's a little ridiculous.
No,
Like you could hold your own against a man in a fight.
I'll fuck the shit out
I
of
don't
somebody.
doubt you.
I will
Listen.
fuck
What you're
somebody.
really trying to
the shit out of somebody.
listen.
And I have. And my
Look,
man,
here's
my
the
man
thing.
fights with me. He's like, I'm the man. Like when we have little tiffs, he's like, sit
No,
behind
look,
me.
look.
Like, I'm
here's
like,
here's
no,
what you're
'cause I
trying to
wanna
say.
defend,
What you're
I
trying
wanna
to say is
protect.
that you have the willingness out
I
of
do.
love to
I-
protect your child.
Look, if
But
you
that,
look
but
at-
that's
if you
exactly
look
the
at
problem.
biology,
Just because you have the willingness and the
Right.
intention
Sure.
doesn't mean you actually have the reality and the ability.
And let me
No, you're
ask
That's
right.
something
Biologically,
objective.
we
Then
are
let me ask
different.
this to your
Absolutely.
point. If a man is coming down the alleyway, it's a man and his wife. What if the man is smaller than the woman? Should she not step up and stand on business and whoop some ass?
Don't know,
I think that men are generally, regardless of their size, stronger. Like even
biologically, we do have a different.
there's
we're
something
biologically different. They're bigger. We're smaller.
there's a quote from an old friend of mine, Zurka, and he says a 14-year-old boy can beat up 90% of women on Earth. And there's
When
there's
did they
truth to
hit
that.
puberty?
There's truth to that. You know, it's just an
Wasabi.
inherent difference in the
No,
ability
you're
to
right.
be
You're
how strong you
absolutely
are.
right. Biologically, we are different. Like I cannot hit as hard as my man. My man's a professional boxer. He will knock somebody out. I can't do what he does. But if anyone gets me to the point, I really can't control myself to kind of want to do that. I do have this protective. I probably.
Right, but you know, and that could be irrational though.
It
if
definitely is
you,
irrational. I should not do that. I
Right.
should be
But you have
quiet
the-
and probably let him do what he has to do.
Yeah,
But
that's-
it's my biological, like it's nature to me. Like when you look
So
in the
this
wild.
is what I'm trying to say
Why
when
would
I
it be
say
irrational to protect your own child?
no. It could be irrational to do it in vain, where there's 100% chance you're gonna lose,
Right.
and
But
you're gonna.
What if you have a weapon to defend yourself and your child?
That
and
change-
that
yeah,
person
yeah.
doesn't?
different in Miami,
Right?
we could carry here, yeah.
A weapon.
in US.
A
We
weapon.
can carry here.
In the United States, right?
Yeah, look, a weapon definitely changes things
Yeah.
Of course.
across the board.
Yeah,
But
for sure.
at the end of the day, you know, fights are normal and they're part of life,
And
right?
circling-
So if all fights are going to be settled with guns and weapons,
But this is
we're
going
gonna-
right back to
it's-
your honor question.
Yeah.
Why
Yeah.
would a man physically think that he needs, if he knows that he is biologically stronger than a woman,
Mm-hmm.
why would he feel the need to then assert his dominance and physical aggression
because
on a
there is
woman
one-
who
because-
is not
no,
able
for
to defend herself and then
100%.
human being with a
understand.
child?
There is 100% dishonorable men. There's
Yeah, there
100% bad men.
But one thing I
100%.
want to circle back to why I pulled Fatima in earlier was because the things that you listed earlier, you were just talking about the physical differences between men and women, but
Mm-hmm.
earlier the things that you listed that were inherent to patriarchy, to men,
Yeah.
anyways, like honor, protectiveness, those are things that we possess as women as well. Those are not inherent to masculinity.
You have honor to your family, honor to your body.
Look, I don't. Women do have their own form of honor, 100%. But I would just say that Masculine honor is also born of necessity, and it's different in nature.
And it's true. Like men always
Women's
have,
honor, I think, is also born of necessity. It's about protecting their reputation. It's about making sure that, you know, nobody's going to be disrespecting them, talking about them badly. A lot of it more tends to focus on socially based, you know.
And it's interesting that you say these things are born out of necessity, because I don't disagree with you. I think that, like I said, we're born into a system that is capitalistic, that is patriarchal, that we're fighting for our life. Like, we're doing what we got to do. So I don't disagree with you that men and women behave the way that they do out of necessity in reaction to their environment.
I actually think that I think it's the opposite. I think capitalism is actually what has destroyed this traditional form of honor we're talking about for men and women.
I think that's
for
what
example,
she was saying.
Capitalism was just an example of a system
no,
that
because
we're
you're
born
saying
into.
it was born of necessity.
No, I'm saying that we're born into that system.
Yeah,
we're
yeah.
born into a capitalist system, so we don't get the option to like not participate in capitalism. Is what.
But
I
what
meant.
does that have to do with the
But because it was
norms?
an example, we're born into systems that we don't get to control, such as patriarchy and such as capitalism.
Do you think capitalism upholds patriarchy?
Yes, and vice versa.
Well, that's the
Because
problem.
they're both rooted in exploitation.
But the problem is that how can that be when capitalism, through, for example, promoting the sex industry, totally devastates and destroys traditional family
Well, the
relationships?
reason why she said that was because they simultaneously help each other. It's not saying
No,
that
no,
they're
but I'm saying
directly related. They're indirectly related.
They don't help each other indirectly or directly. What ends up happening is that capitalism completely devastates traditional values between men and women.
But that doesn't mean that it doesn't uphold patriarchy and that they're not both rooted in the same exploitation.
What patriarchy does? What is the patriarchy of systems turning dollars just for the sake of dollars?
So, I mean, on the topic of exploitation, you
Who's
brought
on
up the
that
porn
dollar
industry.
bill? Who's on that dollar bill? A man.
Well, also to make money from porn.
The men who's on the dollar bill are the men who fought with guns to fight
To make money from
100%.
porn, you have to exploit women. So that's
Absolutely.
That's one of the.
To work on camera, they're willingly doing it. It's not against their will.
No,
Yeah,
it's not
but
against the
there-
law.
You can't say that.
No, there's
So
a
it was
difference
against
between
their
like
will for them to
individual. Like I
play.
said, there's micro situations and there's macro situations. In a micro situation, a woman may not be exploited, but the sex industry in general is exploitative.
If
towards
capitalism
women.
She made
helps,
a choice.
if capitalism helps,
She or they,
she
like
made
you're
a
talking about
choice.
she individually or women in general make the choice
Women in
to
general.
participate in
All right,
sex.
let's-
if-
hold on. Let me get a temperature
yeah.
read on the room here. Do you think the patriarchy benefits or hurts women? We'll start here.
Both.
Okay, if you had to pick one of the two, let's say
you had to
51%
choose.
versus 49%.
Hurts women more.
Hurts
yeah.
women. Okay. What about you? Do you think the patriarchy benefits or hurts women?
Benefit.
Benefits. Okay. What about you?
I'll think she understands that question.
This is tough. Because it can do both.
It
for
could do both.
sure.
I think it could
That's
do
what I'm
both.
saying.
Yeah, but
I
which
think
one
there's
is the
different
more prevalent?
angles.
If you were to say, you think it hurts more. Okay. What about you?
I think it could do both too, but I guess I'd say hurts.
Hurts more. Okay. What about you?
I think it does both. I think different angles.
Yeah, but if
different
ladies, I know it does
situations.
both, but like, which
Yeah,
one if
It's
you had to
different
pick?
situations,
Just
different
say, ladies.
angles, different
Yes.
like everything.
So when you total up everything in different angles, like
Fine.
does it hurt more or benefit more? When you tally everything up and it's all
I
said
think
and
it
done,
can hurt for sure.
more. Okay. All right.
I think it hurts more.
Okay. What about you?
It negatively impacts women.
Negative impacts. Okay. What about you?
It hurts more.
It hurts more. Okay. What about you?
Where are we?
It could be beneficial because you can like actually
I
rely
understand
on,
that.
on the man.
But which
little
one
more.
does it do more? Does it hurt women more or benefit women more? I understand that there's pros and cons, but are there more
It
pros or
hurts
more?
more.
Okay. So is that every girl that said it hurts more, pretty much?
Yeah.
Pretty
Except
much,
for
yeah.
one.
Like
Except for Brew.
80%.
Wait, you're the only one that said it benefits,
I
right?
think she doesn't understand the question.
No. Yes, I did. But I was like,
Domingo.
you say choose one,
Está.
right?
Choose one.
Yeah. Does it hurt
But
women more
most,
or
of,
benefit?
most of them, they
No.
agree that it hurts. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
So you agree with them?
Yeah, I'm going to agree with the woman. Yeah.
So here's a
I
question:
agree with that.
Is
with the ladies.
society becoming more or less patriarchal in your view?
Less.
Okay, we can start here and
Definitely.
work our way around so I get
A
an
little
answer.
bit less.
Do you think society's becoming more or less patriarchal?
Less.
All right.
Okay.
Less.
All right.
Less 100%.
Definitely a little bit less.
Okay.
Little by little, we're getting there. Less.
All right.
Less.
All right.
All yes?
We're all going to say yes.
All less?
Yeah.
I think more.
Oh.
Okay, so you think it's actually becoming more of a patriarchy
I do. I think it's becoming more entrenched every day.
in relation to before?
Yeah,
in the past? So you
yeah.
think men? So you think we're more in a patriarchy now than we were in the past?
Yes, but I don't think that it's men that are more deeply entrenching patriarchy. I actually think it's women.
Explain that.
Like internalized misogyny.
Yeah, internalized misogyny, and this idea that we can, act like a man and be a man. It's
Right.
like, like you guys said, like we're never going to be men. So it's like the things that men do, the things that men are, we don't do that. You know?
So you're saying it's because they're behaving like men?
Behaving like men. Yes,
but also upholding the sexist
yeah, like I don't
and
exactly like I don't want to go
biased
too deep
standards
and like
against
start a
women.
rabbit hole. But
They're not
yes.
your girl's girl.
Yeah, like when you start an
There you go.
OnlyFans, like you may think that you are empowering yourself, and to a degree you are, but also to a degree at the same time you are participating in a system that's exploitative.
But is it
towards
really
women.
useful to still call it patriarchy if it's just women doing it to
Well,
themselves?
I think that like you're misunderstanding like
The definition of
patriarchy. Yeah, patriarchy is not an attack on men. It's
no,
just,
yeah, but somehow men are supposed to be benefiting from this, right?
But they are. Even when women participate in it, men benefit from it.
And how do they benefit?
Because you
from
don't
that?
see all these OnlyFans. All these OnlyFans aren't guys.
The
right?
CEO of
like, there
OnlyFans
are
is a
a couple,
man.
definitely 100%. Like she said, the CEO
Yeah.
of the actual company
Yeah.
is a man.
'Cause here's
But
what I'm
in a
saying that, because
majority
I think-
percentage of
I think
camera,
I think the kind of porn
Most of the
addicted
time.
men who are getting OnlyFans and are subscribing and stuff, I think they're destroying their soul, they're destroying their brain, they're destroying their health.
Yeah.
100%.
Wow, that's I'm surprised you
so,
said that.
so I'm saying like it's not clearly not benefiting them.
But why do
know?
you personally as a man? Why do you
Financially,
feel
not
like it's
spiritually.
like destroying their soul and like ruining their
Well,
mind?
because I think it's basically it's commodifying the experience of a
Yeah.
relationship for them. It's basically giving them a false
Desensitizes.
promise. And it's also doing something that's really unhealthy in my view, which is it's giving them this idea that sexuality can be bought and paid for. So it's destroying
Yes.
and it's abstracting
Yes.
sexuality from the context of actual concrete relationships, which are the bedrock of society. These are what are supposed to produce more people through families and so on and so on. And I think it's giving them an unhealthy idea as far as
expectations.
their expectations and their understanding of women in general.
So real quick, I just want to understand this. So all of you believe that patriarchy is on the decline. You think it's on the incline because you're saying that women are personifying patriarchal type behavior, and that perpetuates the patriarchy.
Yes, and women think that while they're personifying patriarchal behavior, that they're actually
And
finding.
can you give
a
me one
solution.
example so I know specifically what you mean when you say
Sure,
that
like
they're personifying?
OnlyFans, for
OnlyFans?
example.
OnlyFans?
OnlyFans, for example. Women want to be rich. They want
I
to be
feel
as
like
rich
you
as
could
a
go
man.
a little bit deeper.
Yeah, sure. So we want to be as rich
yeah.
as a man, right? We found something that will get us as rich as a
Gets-
man, which
yeah.
is OnlyFans. And so
Right.
for us, it seems really simple. Just
Without
show my
needing the
body,
man.
and I can have as much
But
money
I
as
don't know
Myron,
about
you
rich
know?
as a man because I know many men that want to be rich,
Yes,
even
absolutely,
billionaires, and
absolutely.
they don't even
But-
have.
But when
reached
women are talking about
a
starting
certain
their
status
OnlyFans,
of,
you know?
of
Yeah.
financial.
So you're saying real quick, women are sentient beings that are able to make their own decisions, right?
Yes. Yes.
Everyone.
So so how would it be that her getting into porn is an extension of the patriarchy?
Well, because
if she
you
makes that decision herself and she has
Yeah.
autonomy to do so.
And you do have the autonomy to
She
do
made a
so, but you
choice.
can make a choice that is autonomous, that you are responsible for, and still understand the position that you were put in that pressured you to make that decision. That doesn't mean
You
that
know
it's
that-
anybody's
right.
No one
fault.
put a gun to her head to say, "Do
But
OnlyFans,
that's what I
bitch."
said. That's
She
what I
did it
said.
on her own
That's
volition.
what I said.
Yeah, bitch.
No,
put
no,
that
but
pussy,
you're
bitch.
saying it's because the patriarchy forced her to do it.
No,
by
I think
mistake.
what she's saying is specifically that she understands the woman who is doing porn or OnlyFans understands the predicament that she's in because obviously she knows that if she's getting on the internet and completely is showing off her body, possibly doing sexual activity on live on a camera, it's going to be on there forever. She automatically knows, specifically because we're in a patriarchal society, her worth as a woman is going to be devalued. But she still chooses to do that, online sexual.
So
But
whose
as a
fault-
porn
whose
star, it's
fault
gonna
is
be
that?
increased.
Well, that's what she's
the
And as a
directly
problem.
public
saying.
figure, it's gonna
That's
be
what she's saying.
increased.
When you said, like, what can we do to bring men and women to the center of the table, I think we need to stop focusing on whose faults it is because patriarchy is not the fault of men individually. We all participate in the system. That's what I'm trying to get
Here's a
y'all to
better question.
understand.
What to you would it mean for the patriarchy to be dismantled? What does that look
Sure.
like?
So if we can come to the table and understand that we are all making decisions for survival, then I think that we can have a better place in the conversation. We're all in the same position of survival.
But how does we're talking about like the structure of society,
Yeah.
right, between men and women?
Yeah.
So what would it look like for patriarchy to be eliminated in your view?
Man, that's a great question. I don't even know if I could picture what that would look like, honestly.
How would you solve the Rubik's Cube?
I could only
I've tried
picture
so hard. I
matriarchy.
can't even get the white
All
strip.
right, let me ask this then. Let me go around the table and ask this. Okay, so you guys all agree that, we're in a patriarchy and that it's less beneficial to women. Would you guys then agree that a matriarchy might be the solution? It might be better?
No.
Yes.
Run by women?
Yes.
Hold on, we'll start here.
Yeah, I think it should be a
matriarchy
equal.
run by women?
Yeah.
Equal?
I think it should be equally, managed.
Well, that's not really possible. There's no such thing as equality when it comes to ruling class and power. There has to be one. So what would it
It
be?
could be possible.
It could be, Marin.
It definitely could be possible.
Okay. What about you?
Hey,
I
listen.
feel like it could be one or the other, but the benefits has to be like.
So which
good.
one would you think is better, a matriarchy or a patriarchy? If the patriarchy benefits women less.
Trump or Kamala?
No,
No, don't. No.
I
'cause
just
it's-
don't support all of that. I think it should be equal. Honestly, I don't.
You
know.
also think it should be equal?
Yeah.
There's gotta be a balance.
What in life is equal?
Nothing's equal, but I'm
Why would you
saying
think that it's equal then?
it
Well,
should.
you did say in a perfect world or hypothetically.
perfect-
No.
world.
Listen, stay with this. What is equal in life? Nothing, right? So then you gotta choose one. Just choose one
Yeah, if the patriarchy is bad,
If
it
you had
doesn't
to
benefit
choose.
women. Like, which one would you pick then?
for a better
A
world.
matriarchy or a patriarchy? If you had to pick one. Not equal, pick one.
No patriarchy.
Okay, so the matriarchy for you. What about you?
Matriarchy.
Sorry, I can't do this.
I would say the patriarchy.
Arriba las
What about you,
mujeres.
Tati?
Matrix.
Okay, what about you? Matriarchy?
I would 100% say a matriarchy. The reason being is in terms of understanding that if someone was from a repressed form of society for decades, I would say majority of centuries regarding, smaller seclusions of society, a patriarchy has been dominant. So this more repressed version of society is going to step up for minority women as well as all women in general. In terms of a matriarchy, if I'm being quite honest, I feel like in terms of war, in terms of violence, in terms of specific actions that we can do specifically in the United States to protect women's bodies and their choices, I would say a matriarchy would be 100% more safe for women living in the United States.
Okay. What about you?
I would agree with matriarchy too, just because also based from other places that have matriarchy in effect, it's like
Who has a matriarchy in effect?
England, like the Britain, their matriarchy.
The
Native American
The British are
tribes,
like
Native
responsible for like
American
90% of the problems on planet Earth. So I don't know if that's a great example for your case.
Native Americans, they also
The
were
queen. The
like-
queen is a ceremonial position. It's not really a position.
Yeah, it's fake.
It's the prime minister. that
Still,
runs
she
the
doesn't
country.
have to take her.
Do you have any more examples? Because actually, I like that one.
Disney,
any
bro.
more?
Disney, bro.
You can fuck up.
Yeah, because the queen. It's a ceremonial.
I think
She's
of
the
another
queen.
example, but y'all don't.
Like I want to
That's
say
not a
I want to say matriarchy for sure because I'm a mom and I have a son and I feel like if a woman would never, I don't think a woman would ever send her sons off to war. However, please don't kill me, women, for this. I just feel like in these days people can be bought. They could be puppets. They could be in position to be a face of something and people like telling them what to do behind closed doors. So I just don't know, honestly. I want it to be equal. Women and men should all be like, we're not equal in biology, we're different, but we should be equal in everything else. I have a son, I'm pro-female, I'm like women empowerment. I come from a culture where we can't really do stuff. So I would say matriarchy, but again, in these days, it's not 100% real if it's not really like their feelings and what they want to do.
Interesting.
All right. What about you? A matriarchy or a patriarchy?
I think everything that these ladies said is great. I wish it was true, but realistically, I don't think the world is better off being ran by women.
Why not?
Damn, based.
Misogyny.
Because women are emotional. They're not good at making decisions.
Neither are the guys. Hasn't worked out for us.
I mean, I think men are more decision makers, personally.
I
so.
would say in terms of emotional intelligence, I feel like women as a whole establish more emotional bonds with their female friends as well as other individuals. Whereas men, I feel like in terms of emotional intelligence, they're not necessarily pursuing, you know.
Can you define emotional intelligence for us real quick?
Well, I just feel like the world should be ran on emotions.
Can you tell us what emotional
I
intelligence
think we
is?
have more common sense when it comes
Real
to
quick, real
making
quick.
like big decisions.
What does that mean?
than
Yeah, can you
men.
tell us just so we understand? Because we hear a lot of women use that
Emotional
term.
intelligence. What does that mean?
What is emotional
Sure.
intelligence?
Let's break it down to emotional regulation. You feel that you are upset,
I
right?
feel.
Right? You feel that you're upset.
Okay.
You feel it. Your adrenaline's up, your blood's pumping, your heart might be beating, and all that you know is that you're upset about that specific situation. But all you know is that you're upset. What's the deep-rooted cause as to why you're upset? What's actually causing you to become angry, to become out of your peace? Like, who's actually bringing you out of your peace, and why are they bringing you out of that peace? And why are they actually affecting your vibration as a whole?
So hold on. Do you think that things are getting better or worse for women right now?
Currently,
Yeah.
in the United States,
Like, are women improving or is it worse for them?
Women
We
are
have the
improving.
potential to be.
No, that's not what I asked. Is it getting better or worse for women right
for
now?
what? For
women.
what
Depends on what.
specifically? What
For
category?
the overall health and well-being of women, is it
Like
increasing
Roe
or
v. Wade?
decreasing?
I would say that it's decreasing in this state.
Wait, hold on.
Of
This
time.
is the issue. I don't mean to trap you, but it's like this is why I want you to think about this. Didn't you say? Weren't you one of the people that said that society is becoming less patriarchal,
Yes.
and simultaneously life is getting worse for women, right?
I would say. I'm sorry.
I'm not saying this is your view. This is what you're saying.
100%, and I will stand on that. 100%,
Okay.
I will stand on that. But you didn't specifically ask
No,
about
I
in the
don't. By the
United
way,
States.
I don't mean to corner or use it as an own.
100%, I understand,
yeah,
but
yeah.
I would say
Come on,
specifically in the
talking about
United
men.
States, it's different than globally.
You
I would
think-
say, as a global
right.
perspective,
Stand on business.
100%, we're going more towards the matriarchy. But specifically in the United States, it differs.
Name a specific region or country in the world where you think it's becoming more matriarchal and it's better for women at the same time.
I would say definitely in Ireland and also in the UK. I would also say in different
Really, the
places.
UK?
I would say
In Ireland.
specifically in
Which part?
Ireland.
Which part?
How is life getting better for women in Ireland and the UK in a way that's not for the United States?
Specifically because of their government and how it's established.
Okay, how is it getting better for women?
Don't they have social health care in Ireland?
They literally have free health
That's
care.
something that benefits both men and women.
It
and
does,
and I
100%.
would argue,
Asking-
but that has nothing to do with patriarchy or
When you're
matriarchy.
asking about
But
whether or not
you
it's
are
safer for
specifically
women
asking
now.
about a patriarchal view, and it's specifically in the United States, a patriarchal view
free
is a
healthcare
man
is
making
not-
decisions about a female's body.
But
You
fr-
have no idea how
but
to
free
make a decision
healthcare-
about that.
Free health, fine, but free. We can get into that later. But free healthcare is not a matriarchal
Well,
policy.
but you said, are things getting better or
Well, can
worse
you
for
give
women? Are they
birth?
getting safer or
Yeah,
less
can you
safe
give
for
birth?
women? She's saying they're being,
Right?
it's becoming safer worldwide because other
She got you
countries
there.
have better healthcare systems for women that in the U.S.
Sure.
we don't support.
So you're saying that it's maybe unrelated to the fact that it's supposedly a matriarchy in Ireland, or is it related?
I wouldn't say
I would
it's
say- I
necessarily
would
a
say unrelated.
matriarchy, but I
Okay.
feel like it's getting to a point where it's balancing. It's not necessarily a full patriarchy, and it's not necessarily
so
a full
Ireland is becoming
matriarchy.
less patriarchal, and the United Kingdom, and things are getting better and improving for women.
I would say specifically in Ireland, I would also say in other different regions. Now, I would say specifically the countries that stick towards towards Western ideologies, especially in terms of conservatism. I would say
so
that they're
I'll
more
tell you
lean
the general
towards that.
tendency for all Western countries in the world right now, though, is a few things. One of them is cutting benefits. So cutting benefits like healthcare and things like those are on the decline, right? People's health is getting much worse. Also, we're not even talking about people's mental health. Physically, people are less healthy.
Right.
We're talking about deindustrialization. People are losing the decent jobs they used to be able to rake in enough to support families. People are increasingly riddled with debt, enslaved by debt, and they literally have no prospects for the future. Their rents are going up, inflation's going up. And by the way, I don't know if you know this, but we're also on the verge of World War III.
I do.
So I don't
Under a
see,
patriarchal society, we are on our way to war.
Sure,
But you said all of those are Western countries, correct? Those
Yeah,
are
but-
Western
but-
countries leaning towards that.
these are examples of a scenario where things are becoming less patriarchal, right?
I listen, specifically what I said in a global aspect. I said specifically in the United States,
Yeah.
right? There's still issues affecting women's rights and women's health, and specifically
How-
with
you know what?
westernized countries that they are not
Listen,
having the
I
same
don't- I
effects
don't-
of an
it's-
equal
it's not
balance
my
of
intention.
matriarchy and
It's not my
patriarchy.
intention to embarrass you, but I just want to inform you about something, and I mean that. I'm
You
sincere.
tell me.
So, Europe actually, historically, before Roe v. Wade, had much more restrictive laws about abortion than the United States.
Okay.
Before Roe v. Wade, basically what we had were situations where some states, it was legal to have abortions at, 8-7 months, crazy stuff. In Europe, although abortion is allowed, they're actually much more restrictive, and it would be considered very conservative in the United States if we were to adopt most of European countries' laws and apply them here. So I don't know if you were aware of that, but it's like this idea that Europe is somehow inherently, more liberal on the abortion issue is a huge misconception.
The
actually.
abortion
Well, I don't
issue,
feel
no, but
embarrassed
the
because
healthcare
I
issue
never
is
said
bigger than
anything
abortion.
regarding abortion in terms of liberalism, specifically in Europe. I don't feel embarrassed about that, but I appreciate you informing me on the fact
Because
that
I
they
heard
are
you
more
mention Roe v.
conservative.
Wade as an example of how the United States is worse for women than in Europe.
I don't think I mentioned that.
Okay. Did you
And
mention?
the repeal of Roe v. Wade. Roe v. Wade obviously was a
Roe v.
monument.
Yeah.
repeal it.
The repeal of it, yeah. So, what makes Europe specifically in terms of how does matriarchy in Europe benefit women more than it does in the United States?
But I don't think that anyone established a specific country, except Ireland and partially some of the UK, that's
Didn't you say
leading
Western
more
countries
towards
or?
matriarchy. I
She
said
said
that
that-
the Western
yeah.
countries are more affiliated with the patriarchal culture.
You think Western countries are more patriarchal than Eastern ones?
I would say honestly both have their fair share. Same in Korea, same as in China, same as
Actually,
in Japan.
yes, I would say in East Asian countries, matriarchy is more popular than in Western
But I would say
countries.
specifically in Korea, I would say
Yeah.
that's not the case because in Korea it's actually more of a patriarchy, especially
Yeah.
because there's high reports and accounts of violence against women, specifically in
So
Korea.
I just want to clarify something. Western countries are renowned around the world for having especially less patriarchal cultures than others, just in general. And I know I'm biased because I'm come from a Middle Eastern background, but it's like Western is much less traditional, much more liberal.
I
and much
100%
more.
agree with you. I 100% agree with you.
I don't know
but
if
at the same
I just
time-
haven't gotten sleep because I kind of feel like you're just constantly saying the opposite of what you just said 30 seconds
Well,
ago.
I just think that the bar is so
I don't know what's
low.
going
I think
on.
the bar is so low for the
Well, you're
standards
also
of caring
kind of a
for
moving
women.
target. You go from talking about the U.S. to talking about Ireland to talking about.
I'm trying to get to where you're at. I'm trying to get to where
No,
you're
it's
at.
awesome. It's great to have someone come in and deal
For the
with
first
for a
time.
bit for the first time
Yeah.
and let them just see.
The chaos.
Yeah. Sorry, continue on. This is just great for me. To
It's
see.
a wide drink, Henny.
No, I'm just saying. So here, because this is the point I'm trying to get at, basically. So we don't have to keep going in circles.
Wait, what was the question that you asked?
Basically, it's like I'll just tell you my view. Instead of asking you, I'll just tell you my view. I don't see how the modern countries, let's say developed countries, Western countries, let's just talk about America, are becoming more patriarchal. I mean, I think that's kind of ridiculous and here's why, because we are shifting more toward a system or a society where impersonal systems are dominating almost every aspect of life, where there's not necessarily an authoritative and responsible figure who's in charge. And this is not even just true at the level of households. It's also true at the level of workplaces, and it's also increasingly true at the level of how the government itself is run. So typically with patriarchy, you can attach authority to a face, someone who's at least accountable, who's at least responsible, a boss, right? We seem to be going in a direction where this strange and blind system, just money for money's own sake, we know the big data, the algorithms, whatever, it seems to be just kind of governing society autonomously, which is leading to a total breakdown and devastation of the traditional relationships of society, including that between men and women and the family. And I don't think that's a good thing. I think that's leading to the destruction of people's mental health, even to their physical health. I think it's leading to a widespread confusion, and it's stoking a lot of resentment by men against women and vice versa. And I don't think it's useful to trying to explain where we're at right now in terms of patriarchy or whatever. If anything, the opposite is happening. The opposite is happening. It's not that we're a patriarchy. It's that we're living in a society that seems to have been taken over, by a completely anti-human in general force, right? Which is neither good for men or women. But I will say something. Whoever's in charge of what's going on and is managing this self-destructive process really seems keen on attaching female faces to power.